A good friend of mine has lended us this bike. Now her name's Behave, so make sure you go follow her Instagram right here, because this video would have been possible without her. Now this bike does have some brand new tires on it, so we won't be doing anything too crazy because I don't want to die. It's not my bike and we don't even have Aussie knobs. But we're gonna go for a little bit of a ride on this R7. Now, if you don't know, this here is the one and only beautiful LAMS approved R7. So this model is not de-restricted. So today we're going to be reviewing the today we're going to be reviewing the restricted version of this bike. So this is what you're going to get if you're an RE. In my last video we reviewed an R3, which is in my opinion the best beginner bike for somebody who's not ridden before and who wants to get into riding. Now this here is my suggestion to people who have ridden before and aren't brand new. People that have got a little bit more experience under their belt, people who kind of know what they're doing. This is the bike that I would suggest to you. So this is on brand new tires, meaning I cannot do any cool trick shots for you guys. So you'll have to just, live with what we got. It does little power wheelies. Not too bad for a LAMS bike. Let's take it to the back streets. Let's wear these tires in for her. Last time I was out on one of these, a friend crashed one. So I've actually got 3 of these bikes lined up to fix. Everybody likes to crash these bikes. And somebody named Ghost crashed, so that was fun. Yeah, she came over from over east, borrowed a friend's bike, and then absolutely binned it around a bend. I felt bad for her, but then she refused to pay for damage, so I don't feel so bad anymore. Let's see if I bin it too. Skinny bike. In fact, it's the skinniest of the R lineup from Yamaha. So it's, it makes it kind of easy to throw yourself off the bike. It makes it easy to throw around. However, the downside of that, in my opinion, oh my lord, the downside of that, in my opinion, is I feel like I've got less to hold on to. I feel like there's less for my legs to grab onto, less for me to make use of. There's less bike, but it makes it easier to control the bike itself, but I feel like it makes it harder to control me. That skinny frame, however, does definitely come in hand when you're wanting to go between some cars. That is definitely for sure. It makes it very, very easy to go between cars, and the fact that it's so skinny, I actually have a lot of vision in my side view mirrors, believe it or not. So that's fun. See, the fact that the bike is so skinny, I've got so much confidence. This is a pretty narrow road too. Just got so much confidence just to send it straight up the middle. Now, if you're watching in America, this is legal here in Australia. The torque. Now, let's talk about the power of this bike. It's got a good amount of torque, and it's got a good amount of power for somebody who's kind of, got their feet grounded into bikes, and if you're looking for a stunt bike, maybe even this would be a pretty good option, although I would highly recommend de-restricting it. But it's got a lot of usable power, and I think that's what's important, is that this is a really good street bike. Now, I wouldn't personally favor this over my ZX6 or a few other bikes for the track, just because of how it's slow. It doesn't have that top end, and the front brakes are really spongy. The ABS in the front of these bikes is absolutely atrocious, but other than that, It's pretty good. You know, a lot of people were expecting this when it came out to be such a good track bike, and, you know, the new R7, and I think that's how Yamaha really pushed it, was, you know, this amazing track bike. But I think it's actually an amazing street bike, and because it's got so much usable power, right? There's so much low down torque. You know, when I'm just driving around town, when I'm just riding home or going to the local Bunnings to get my sausage sizzle, you know, I don't need to be going 200 kilometers an hour straight away. I don't need to be going 200 kilometers an hour in a 50 zone, you know, because somebody who just got their license isn't going to be doing that, and, you know, you probably shouldn't be doing that anyway, because that's how you lose your license very quickly. But there's so much usable power in the way of, it gets me to a very slow speed very quickly. Now, I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. You know, I can get myself up to 50 kilometers instantly. I can get myself to the speed limit, and I feel like I'm going so much faster than I am. And it's so light, and it's a very fun bike to ride. You know, riding down the freeway, I can personally speak from my experience when I used to have one. Riding down the freeway with my friends wasn't so much fun because, you know, they all had bigger, faster bikes than me. And, you know, I've been out on rides on this with friends that have big leader bikes, ZXs, and out on the freeway, it's nothing, it's boring. But then as soon as we get into little roads like this and the tire twisties and where we're going now, I could keep up with them, because that's what this bike is designed to do. You know, if you want to be a straight line warrior, this bike is not for you. If you want to really kind of learn, and if you want a good starter bike for somebody who's looking to be a little bit more spirited in their riding, I would say this is the bike for you. But my last problem with this bike, sorry, I'm just playing with my microphone here. My last problem with this bike is the price. It is a pricey bike. In my opinion, how much you spend on this bike for what you get is almost not worth it. To buy it brand new, at least. You know, this bike is like a $1,300 bike. You can't turn ABS. Your options are very limited. Like, you get this nice LCD screen that's right here, but other than that, you know, I can't change. It doesn't have traction control. You can't turn the ABS on and off, which is really frustrating. There's kind of nothing kind of supporting you. It's a very, I guess, raw experience, other than the terrible traction control. Other than terrible ABS, but I'll have you know, I am not allowed within 2 kilometers of a school zone. Well, oh shit, I thought this went across. It doesn't. Send it. Alright, let's add to the list. It's a good off-roader. Fantastic for off-roading. Should we go do some burnouts on the grass? Let's go do some burnouts on the grass. No one's gonna know. How are they gonna know? Nobody's gonna know. Now, this is the question everybody's gonna be waiting for. Can it wheelie? Yes. Yes, it can. It can definitely wheelie. This isn't my bike, so I'm not going to send it, but it could definitely wheelie. You won't be doing any power wheelies in second gear, that's for sure. But first gear, you can get it up, you know, if you're not going too fast. And you can definitely clutch this bike up too. Actually, I wonder if I can clutch it up in second. Can I get a second gear clutch up? I think the price point for them is a little bit much, but you know, you can go pick up one of these secondhand and still have a good time.